pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for September 7, 2010. If we have a roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Gerard Renadette.
Here.
Martin Mannix.
Here.
Paul LeMoyne.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 286, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of August 16, 2010 and August 23rd, 2010 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. LeMoyne, any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to know how you consider a person absent from a meeting. If they're not here for a roll call to say they're present, are they then absent for the whole meeting?
No, I'm assuming you're talking about your own for the first couple of resolutions.
On the 16th.
The member should be corrected over and then just have an absent on the first two roll calls.
I appreciate
Okay.
that was done.
Yeah, I didn't pick up.
Because it makes it look like I didn't come to the
No,
meeting at all.
No, you just missed the first couple of resolutions and have been duly fined.
I did vote on the second
Well,
one
it does
out
show-
from the hall.
You have to be present, that's town law, you know that.
Present, I was right there.
But we will move that over, Ricky, that he was here for the meeting, and keep the absent though on the first two resolutions. Anything else? A roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul LeMoyne.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution, first of all, this is the portion of our meeting where I try to remember to invite anyone who'd like to address the board to do so. Please state their name, address, and limiting their comments to 5 minutes or so. And when not, then we move forward. Resolution 287, abstract 90.
Resolved that the abstract of audit of claims number 9A-10, 1988 to 2133 for $362,719.33, and abstract 9A-10 prepays $359 to $387 in the amount of $442,051.43, and be reviewed and received by the audit committee, and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Lemoyne, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul LeMoyne.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 288, Codes and Zoning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer for the month of August 2010.
A motion?
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second. Mr. Lemoyne, any discussion? I always like to point items out to a listening audience on resolutions periodically. And again, this one, there were 46 building permits requested in the month of August, 44 permits issued. A couple of single-family residents that were seeking permits, extensions on residents, porches, decks, demolition, and so on. So again, our department is busy. Activity is good, as we all know, in this economy. It's a sign of people working, investing in their property, their homes, materials that are sold, and the ripple effect is very good. So it's important to know. Anyone have any other comments? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Paul LeMoyne.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 289.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Paul Wright, Assistant Wastewater Superintendent for August 2010.
A motion,
So moved.
Mr. Renadat, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood. Again, it's a very extensive list from the department. We will be continuing our conversation, I hope, in work session this coming Monday about replacing Mr. Comfort's position. It's a busy department, as you all know, one of our larger departments relative to staff, relative to budget, and one with a pretty significant responsibility bringing clean water, safe water to the community, business, homeowners, and so on. Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Gerard Rennerdat.
Yes.
Mark Manick.
Yes.
Paul LeBoy.
Yes.
Ernie Bass.
Yes. Resolution 290, Comptroller's Audit 2010, and adopting a corrective action plan.
Whereas the Office of State Controller has a top priority, the goal to help local government officials manage government resources and provide accountability for tax dollars. Whereas the review of the ambulance receivables and the water, wastewater billing receivables for period January 1, 2008 to May 31st, 2009 surfaced the need to improve internal controls and operations. And whereas the examination report from the Controller's Office 2010M-45 was reviewed and received by the town board. And whereas recommendations for improvement and the development of comprehensive action plan to respond to the findings and recommendations from the Controller's report has been addressed, and after intensive meetings and discussions of the appropriate strategy and implements of the plan of corrective action and policy implementation, the attached CAP that has been completed by the supervisor with the help and assistance of the involved departments, the town auditor, deputy supervisor, ambulance committee, has been completed. Now therefore be resolved that a comprehensive action plan in response to the Controller's report 2010M-45 be adopted by the town board, and the new billing, receiving, and accounting policy for water wastewater accounts August 20th, 2010, and water and wastewater billing procedures September 7th, 2010, be added to the town existing policy handbook. And it is further resolved that a copy of the CAP resolution 010-290 and the billing policy be sent to Mr. Carl Simoski, Chief Examiner, Office of the State Controller, 1 Broad Street Plaza, Glens Falls, New York, 12801.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Lemoy, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadan, any discussion?
And it just says that we're going to be policy, I assume is this one that you handed out?
There should be 2 documents that will actually be considered as policy, one for billing, receiving, and accounting, and the second one that you received this evening dated 9/7/10, water and wastewater billing procedures. Those would be key documents that we will put in the orange binders as an example of one in our situation room. Every department head has one. We will make copies of the policy, and then behind them will actually be the CAP as part of that documentation.
Okay, so the people have been identified that are the ones that are supposed to be checking on
Correct.
each one?
And actually, Mr. Mannix has taken a proactive role with meeting with the departments to make sure their accounts are reconciled, I believe, on a weekly basis. Our recommendation was to do it monthly. They've been doing it weekly, and there are some carryover funds that appears to be part of how software handles them, that each time is consistently not showing up where it needs to be in their reporting, but they know what it is, they know why it is. Outside of that, an email we got today, the departments met on their own, and it came out perfect, I believe. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes, and it has, I mean, on a weekly basis it has. And the reason we did the weekly reconciliation was our attitude was that if we're balancing every week, we don't have a problem. If we did it on a monthly basis and a problem were to appear, you've got that much backlog you've got to go through to find your answer. So it's worked very well, and it's not a time-consuming situation for somebody to do the, if we did have, we've had a couple instances where on their own, they've gone back to each other and just straightened something out, so that, what we did end up with was a proper statement that did balance.
Is it correct to say that 3 or 4 years ago, that didn't happen at all, ever?
Well, it was two different problems. One was the system or the lack of system that was in place, and two was there was a unfortunate lack of interdepartment communication, and that's been corrected. Everybody is on board. They're fully cooperating. We're not having any issues at all in that regard.
It's always important to note, too, the comptroller's report didn't find any misuse of funds or missing funds, anything of any concern in that nature at all. It was a matter of making sure policy and procedure was in place and accounts were balanced. And something we had been working with for quite some time, our internal audits surfaced the same needs. Now, the software that we purchased has also showed a new concern with encumbrances that aren't rolling over into those accounts within the new year. And I'll give a somewhat legitimate example. If a department had saved $50,000 that they encumbered from 2009 for the purchase of vehicles or equipment in 2010, to add the 50, something you've often talked about, Tom, get the money first. To add the 50 from the previous year, it's not rolling into that budget line. So when you purchase the vehicles and do the deduction, it shows a deficit. The money's there, you can see it in the reporting, but it does not merge as an increase when you start the new fiscal year, which is, from my understanding, really what it should. But the important thing is we're talking, we're getting down to the particular issues that are a concern, and rather than just some huge global monster that no one seems to feel they have any control over, we're talking about an issue or an item or a process. So we're truly getting there, and it was no slow process. And I really need to mention that Gerard and Marty have worked and continue to work extensively on the ambulance issues of concern. And that was another one. We had been trying to resolve with collectibles and working with the departments that have served the town very well for a long time and really led us to the point where we are with a town-wide district. So this document represents some pretty significant change and certainly a lot of progress and still some work to be done. One of the things I mentioned to the department heads when I shared this final document last week is let us know if there's something that needs to be changed. If there's a procedure that needs to be amended as we do work and we do grow and reporting procedures change even. We want this to be a living document. We'll amend it. We'll amend it in 6 months or 2 years or whatever. And I think that's important because they too will now be using this as a operational procedure. Nobody ever gave them a procedure manual. And like with a lot of things, you're put in the position and it's expected you know what to do, make it all work. And we're pretty good with training, but this is internal, and I think we're taking ownership of it too, and that's really important. So I'm pretty pleased with what we've got, and I hope the comptroller's office will be as well, and we'll move on.
If I could, Bernie, I'd like to just add in support of that to your comment earlier about there, there were no improprieties found, but there were some weaknesses in the procedures that left the possibility that someone could take advantage of those weaknesses. And now we have in place, double faults, double checks on everything, so that we should not have that occur in another audit.
And the comptrollers even went so far as to say that even though they didn't find anything wrong, what we had was policies that were in place, but nothing in writing. Everybody was doing what they were supposed to do, but there was no written policy for them to go back and say, well, you are doing what you're supposed to do. So other than a lack of some communications, well, Marty's absolutely right, there's nothing right, it's just a little bit of a lack of communication and no written policy. So now we have all of those factors working together.
And as a town, one of the things they noted, we have 3 departments and 3 different individuals responsible for billing, receiving, and the budgeting of the funds. So that is a pretty good internal versus, many towns where you have the clerk that sends the bill out and collects the payments and makes the adjustments. And you're right, within the water department, they were doing it right. Now we have a policy that, for procedures. I think it's a good thing. I was extremely pleased when we knew we were going to be having an audit, and none of us were surprised with the topics they chose. So it came out well. It was a good joint effort by all means. With that said, it's probably said enough. Let's have a roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Brad Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Paul Lemoy,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 291, home request number 17 as payment for DHCR disbursement number 21.
Whereas all costs related to said project work has been inspected and approved by designated rehabilitation specialists for said work, and recommends that the funds be allocated from the Housing Trust per the approved quotations for completed work. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board, Town of Plattsburgh, is hereby grant approved payments in the total amount of $1,500 as payment to DHCR disbursement request number 21 for work related to the project listed as Town of Plattsburgh, New York State Home Improvement Grant Project number 2008-3068. And it is further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to make said payment for the project in accordance with the agreement. It is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer and to the bookkeeper.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? I did make some phone calls last week concerning our current application for home grant funds to do more rehabilitation work in the town. And I'm led to believe that those decisions will be made by next week, the end of this week, next week. So I've made a couple calls saying, keep us in your graces. We really want to continue this program. So we'll let you know very soon, and hopefully we will be funded for another round. Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Paul Lemoy.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 292, authorizing submission of 2010 New York State Community Development Block Grant Office of Community Renewal Program Economic Development Open Round Grant Application for Haley Lumber.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh is determined to continue pursuing economic development initiatives that will enhance job opportunities for its citizens. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh has identified the expansion of Haley Lumber and Building Supply as a way to bring quality employment opportunities to the town. And whereas Haley Lumber and Building Supply is currently in the need of assistance with expansion costs of their Plattsburgh facility, now located at 1472 Military Turnpike. And whereas the only affordable means to secure financing to assist Haley Lumber and Building Supply with a significant expansion cost that they will face in opening their new Plattsburgh facility is through the New York State Office of Community Renewal Program Community Development Block Grant. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh is eligible applicant under the New York State Community Development Block Grant Office of Community Renewal Program, and thus eligible for financial assistance. And whereas the application for sub-grant assistance requires a submission of certification along with part of the application. And now, therefore be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, being the governing body thereof, that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to, 1, sign and submit the economic development open round grant application for $100,000 to New York State Office of Community Renewal to provide Haley Lumber and Building Supply with assistance with working capital. And 2, to authorize representatives of the town of Plattsburgh in connection with the submission of this application. And 3, to provide such additional information as they be requested.
A motion. Mr. Lemoy, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
The company has been checked out as to the viability type of.
Yes, very much so. And they're actually off to a very good start. They're local, have a long history in that business, a very successful history. So we're feeling very good about the investment. I know you've been involved through the LDC.
Yep.
Do you have any other thoughts on that?
No, I don't at all. I agree with you. I think that he was formerly, I guess, with the Gregory's for, 20 years or something like that. So, I think he knows the business pretty well.
Okay, roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Lemoy?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, Resolution 293, authorizing public hearing to consider 2010 New York State Community Development Block Grant Office of Community Renewal Program Economic Development Open Round Grant Application for Haley Lumber.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh is determined to continue pursuing economic development initiatives that will enhance job opportunities for its citizens. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh is eligible applicant under the New York State Office of Community Renewal Development Block Grant Program, and thus eligible for financial assistance. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh is eligible to receive up to $750,000 in grant funds in 2010 from the Community Development Block Grant Funds of Economic Development. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh has received 2 CDBG grants awarded for the total amount of $525,000 in 2010, is eligible to receive an additional $225,000 in 2010 Community Development Block Grant Funds for Economic Development Grant Assistance in the 2010 calendar year. And whereas the application of said grant assistance required the holding of 2 public hearings to consider potential projects. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, being the governing body, therefore will hold a series of 2 public hearings to consider the submission of New York State 2010 New York State Office of Community Renewal Community Development Block Grant Economic Development Open Round Grant. Said public hearing 1 will be held September 20th, 2010 at 7 p.m. and public hearing 2 will be held September 27th, 2010 at 6:35 p.m.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second that, Tom? Second, Mr. Wood. Any discussion?
I'm just wondering why the difference in the time. One at 7, the other at 6:45.
We have another one that's already scheduled for 6:35 coming up.
That's correct. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Lemoy?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 294, Comprehensive Land Use Plan, public hearing.
Whereas the town board acknowledges the receipt of the 2010 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, revised May 26, 2010, together with the accompanying full EFA Part 1, and after review of said finds, the effect of such plan would be townwide, and that the town board determines such action to be type 1 action, and hereby declares itself as the lead agency in connection with the adoption of such plan. And whereas the town board has authorized and directed copies of the final draft of the Comprehensive Use Plan 2010 be forwarded and referred to the adjacent municipalities and agencies for their comment listed in Resolution 10-284. Now therefore be resolved, the public hearing will be held at the Town of Plattsburgh 2010 Comprehensive Use Plan on September 20th, 2010 at 6:35 p.m. prevailing time at the Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York. And it is further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to have said public hearing notice published in the local press Republican as required by law.
A motion,
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Just out of curiosity, have there been any comments from the adjacent municipalities?
None that have come to me. Which I don't know why they wouldn't have read the novel, but. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 295, Water Wastewater Department purchase request for 2 new trucks.
Resolved to receive a letter dated August 19th, 2010 from Paul S. Wright, Assistant Water and Wastewater Superintendent, requesting permission to purchase 2 new 2011 Ford trucks. One F-250 gas in the amount of $25,306.21, and one F-250 diesel in the amount of $38,818.82 to be used by the Town of Plattsburgh Water and Wastewater Department pursuant to the New York General Services Standard and Purchase Group Contract PC 65030, award number 21910FPF, in the amount not to exceed $64,125.03. And it is further resolved that the town board does hereby grant permission to Mr. Wright to order said trucks, and the supervisor hereby authorized to sign any related documents required to their purchase. And it is further resolved that payment for said purchase will be made payable from the 2009-2010 water wastewater budget equipment and capital outlay account WS1610-2000-0000, and then a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoyne, any discussion?
Any discussion on behalf of members of the committee with Paul regarding why one is gas and one is diesel?
I actually spoke to Paul at length about this, and he explained to me a couple of things. He'd ultimately like to have them both diesel because they run, when they're idling in the wintertime and stuff, they're much more fuel economical. He said the need right now, because there's $14,000 difference, they couldn't afford to buy them both diesel, and that's why they're buying one gas. They're only using one of them to plow with. That's going to be the diesel truck, so that's why they could get away with having one of them be a gas-powered vehicle. And it didn't sound to him like the one that they're not going to use for a service truck wouldn't be running. You may be driving and shut it off and restart it, where the diesel one would probably be running a good portion of the day. So, like I said, I spoke to him at length about, if he had his wishes, I can guarantee you he would be asking us for 2 diesel trucks right now. His budget just doesn't afford that. But I can also tell you that the suggested retail value of those 2 trucks, we're buying on state contract $25,000 cheaper than the sticker price. So we're, when we're spending $38,000, it's, for a diesel truck, it's at a considerable savings off the sticker price. So.
And
Eventually-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Eventually, he wants to go to diesel with the fleet, but he wants to update the fleet on a regular basis. But obviously, due to budget constraints this year and, past year, this last period of time, doesn't feel it's a good time to do it.
I will add to that too, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There are 5 retired, at least 5, there might even be a 6th one out there, retired vehicles out behind the garage that we very quickly need to get to the point of putting those up for auction and getting rid of them, because there's at least 5 back there without plates, and certainly the longer they sit, the less value they're going to have. So if one of them can still run and it still starts, we can, we'll
He
get
did
more
make the
value out
point,
of
though,
it.
that, he did make the point at the meeting that they do use a considerable number of parts off the vehicles to keep repairing the ones they have.
No, he plans on selling all of those, right, Bernie? We talked about.
That's the message I get.
I just wanted to add that another thing, because we did discuss it, Tom and I, with Paul at the Water and Sewer Committee meeting that we had last month, and he had said that the diesel has more torque, it'd be a more of a workhorse to be used as plowing, it'd put less wear and tear on that engine, and that because they run cleaner, those engines will last a lot longer than a gasoline engine. So he says invariably a lot of our vehicles, the engines wear out before the frames wear out, and we're replacing engines. In this case, we'll probably replace the frame long before we replace the engine. So I think it's a fair trade, again, as Paul said, for the deal we're getting. I don't know if we want to have a whole fleet of diesel because of the cost of diesel, but if we're going to have vehicles that are going to be designated as the workhorse for hauling and plowing and such, we should probably consider the diesels to be the mainstay for that type of work.
And the only thing I'll add, and final for this, is having taken a truck that was 4 years old to that parade in Cadieville and see the way they could spit polish that 4-year-old truck up and get it parade ready was pretty remarkable to me. I mean, yeah, there was maybe a couple of surface dents and a scratch in it, but that truck cleaned up pretty well, so they are taking care of that fleet pretty well.
Anything else? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Martin Nanick,
Yes.
Paul LeBoy,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, Resolution 296, community needs and design of a bridge over the Saranac River within the hamlet of Morrisonville.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has been notified by New York State DOT that it intends to replace the existing green bridge within the hamlet of Morrisonville. And whereas the Saranac River has a history of generating ice jams in that area, and whereas the current bridge procedures line of sight problems with motorists traveling in a northerly direction and similarly line of sight problem for vehicles approaching in a southeasterly direction from Red Hill. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh recently finished over 18 months of work on a reinstatement of the comprehensive use plan and had great attention was given to the promoting of the forestry, the values inherent in the present of the 9 hamlets within the town of Plattsburgh. And whereas the area surrounded by the Green Bridge in Morrisonville was identified as one of those 9 hamlets. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, hereby requests that New York State Department of Transportation meet with the town board of the town of Plattsburgh and the town of Schuyler Falls and such other interesting citizens who might wish to participate in such a discussion with the approved purpose of settling upon a bridge design that is most apparent needs of the hamlet of Morrisonville while conforming with the financial constraints imposed upon the project. And it is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the supervisor in the town of Schuyler Falls.
A motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix. I'd note that on August 27th, I did fax a draft of this resolution to Harold Ormsby, Supervisor Schuyler Falls, sharing it with him and inviting him to make comments, suggestions, or whatever he felt needed to be done.
Nothing yet.
No. The one thing I picked up that we didn't do on here, and I will do, once passed, if passed, we will send an official copy of this to the appropriate individuals at DOT.
Correct.
That should have been noted in the resolution. In fact, I entertain an amendment to add that to the final result.
And I'll second that
Yes.
amendment.
Seconded by Mr. Mannix to add to the final resolve that the copy will also be given to, and I just have to research the appropriate personnel. I don't know if it's Percy or who it is at DOT. Any other discussion?
I just think it's important for us to to produce this resolution and to send this resolution to the Department of Transportation. They've submitted two potential designs, neither one of which would do much to further the area. And I, for one, would like to see a bridge much, quite similar to the bridge that was built in Willsboro. And they had a similar situation where a bridge was removed in the heart of the village of Willsboro. And actually, even though DOT resisted that pretty strenuously, when they did finally get on board with the project, they submitted a project that was an award-winning project. And I think they could do something similar in this area, and it would enhance the community of Morrisonville. I think Morrisonville it's one of those little hidden gems that exists around, and it really is an area that's ripe for a change in its atmosphere, and I think that bridge and how that's incorporated into that community, and some upgrading of, say, the former swimming area down in Morrisonville, and similar work on our side could really make that community a far more attractive community.
The timeliness is interesting with the comprehensive plan and our discussions we've been having about gateways and hamlets. There is a project that has begun to work its way through the process to do a construction on the former Dorn's trunking, that little triangle on 22 and Baker Road, which would be a nice addition to the community. We would like to see a sidewalk put in. As you recall, last winter, our highway department went in and worked on accessibility to the river. The city's got a nice project going with a river walk. We would certainly like to see that river walk continue. Cernac's doing some work there to get the community out. I had a conversation this morning with a gentleman, I'll share more of that with you at our work session, about giving the town some property wherein we might create a recreation area right on Main Street in Morrisonville. So you're right, Marty, there's a handful of, you didn't even know about that one today.
Didn't know about that one, Barry.
You thought I was making another coffee, and I was out there in the field. But there are some really exciting things happening. Marty's right on the button. That's one of those little communities that can do nothing but continue to grow and be an asset for all of us as a bedroom community. This really is an important project, and hopefully we'll be able to get around this. I have a feeling our deputy supervisor is going to be championing this cause. We'll appreciate that help very much. But it's good to be proactive, and we'll see how it goes. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Brad Renadette?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, Resolution 297, the town clerk's monthly report.
Resolved to receive the report from Rick Collins, town clerk, for the month of August 2010.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood. Ricky, what would you like to point out to us today?
We've rebounded a little bit from last month, and the difference between last year and this year, if you compare 2009 to 2010, is a difference in the excessive hunting licenses that were sold last year before they raised all the prices. It's a considerable amount that a lot of the middle-aged baby boomers took advantage of that, buying a lifetime license for $50 instead of $88 a month. Per season. And they purchased a $50 lifetime license instead of an $88 license.
It's a bit of a one-time perk.
It was a one-shot deal, the state didn't know how many people that they were gonna really get onto that, and they were overwhelmed with it.
Ricky, I'm curious, how much is a marriage license?
$40.
I see that is about half what it was last year at the same time also.
People are thinking twice about it.
Works for me. I'd rather put the ball up there. Anyone have any questions for Ricky?
Can't top that.
These really are the little indicators of what's happening. It's statistical, it's data-driven. As you know, I've shared, we're watching sales tax. It did some funny things last reporting period, and we'll be very anxious to see how the rest goes. But the level of activity is very good out there, so I think we should be optimistic. We don't ever want to be the opposite of that, but we also have to be realistic. Budgets will... The process is beginning. The draft budget is coming together, so we'll be talking about all the numbers very, very soon. Any other comments for Ricky while we have him here? Ricky, anything else you want to point out to us?
I just,
Again,
by taking last year's to this year, you can, there's quite a bit of difference in some of the numbers and stuff like that, but as a whole, we're back on the rise to where we were. We had that little drop last month, but this month it came back in line with what it's been on the rise, so. Good.
Well, I appreciate having the previous year to look at. It really does help add some sense to what we're trying to read here. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll do a roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Gerard Renner?
Yes.
Mark Manick?
Yes.
Paul Moy?
Yes.
Bernie Bass?
Yes. Resolution 298, the Historian's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file the historian's monthly report for the month of August 2010.
Motion.
So
Mr. Lemoy, second. Mr. Wood. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to point out, which I'm kind of proud of, that both the historian and deputy are on the Battle of Plattsburgh commemoration planning committee and the Adirondack Coast Cultural Alliance. And not only are they doing those things and helping work with the community and efforts to promote these things, but it's also going to help with our tourism in the whole area.
And that is a key economic engine. We cannot forget that. Tourism is a key part of our economics here. The cultural, historical value of the Champlain Valley is what can drive that engine as well. I also note, thank you, Tom, and I also would like to note that our historian makes comment that the third float this year will be part of the Battle of Plattsburgh Parade. The third one this year. I don't know if we ever had one. Well, I had a few special celebrations, and you would recall that as well, Mr. Mannix. They're out there and they're doing the job, and you're right, Tom. I'm really proud of them. Mr. Lemoy, Mr. Wood were able to join us at the Halsey Corners reenactment this Monday. And our historian again enhanced that. There was a bit of a reenactment in the streets, lots of gunpowder in the air, and it was just a great event. He did a nice job, and is representing the town of Plattsburgh well. So very pleased with all that.
the historian's narration of that whole event yesterday was really phenomenal. I mean, he really painted the picture of what that looked like and you know, and what you would have expected had you been there that day. So he really researched it. He did a nice job with it. The reenactors were lousy shots because nobody fell, but it was a good time.
If any of them had fallen, there wouldn't have been anybody left to go down the street.
So the hockey player here, he was looking for a little blood. There was a lot of blood a number of years ago. The other thing that's very important to note, and I'm lobbying all the time, there's a watercolor painting of the Battle of Halsey's Corners being done. And I've seen the artist's work. Some of it is in the museum. Definitely worth looking at. His attention to detail. The buttons are painted as the buttons were. And the position of the combatants will be as they were. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful capturing of the event. And I'm really hoping we will have the unveiling of that at Halsey's Corner next year as something special. So mark your calendars ahead. That's going to be really exciting.
I would dare say there was probably 100 people in attendance to that with families and kids, and so it was well attended.
Yeah, it was a good, very good event. And it's good the town is involved in that. It's about time, as I say. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul LeBoy,
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, Resolution 299, the Dog Control Officer's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from David Duquette, Dog Control Officer, for the month of August 2010.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Lemoy. I think everybody waits for someone because God bless him. Again, he's a full-time corrections officer. He does a great job for the town. In his monthly report, he notes catching 38 dogs. Gave 23 warnings, 5 tickets. He will represent himself in court most of the time, and he does a very good job at it. We shared an incident that happened this past week that he was involved in that was a threatening incident. That's not always, saving somebody's pet and everybody loves you. He has to engage, but I don't know where to go with it, but I cannot leave out this new breed. I don't know if you all caught that about midway through his first paragraph. Of course, as a dog control officer, he's responsible to know various breeds. And tonight we can all go home and Google the goat-a-doodle. We may be the only municipality to have taken a goat-a-doodle into to confiscate him. So I'll just leave that at that. I'm sure anybody watching this are starting to Google already the goat-a-doodle.
I think I'm going to have to encourage him to write a little book or something with his episodes.
Art Linkletter,
Most people would be laughing.
yeah, Art Linkletter did it with the children. He could do it with the animals and the experiences he's had, that's for sure. But it's good he keeps his sense of humor. Anyone have any other questions, comments, anything they want to point out? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul LeBoy,
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes. Resolution 300, Building Maintenance and Safety Committee Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Art Rowe, Building Maintenance Supervisor for the month of August 2010.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second time. Any discussion? Hate to make comments on some and not others, but again, it's been a busy period for him. Many dig save locations, I'm sure our auditors have seen those tickets come through. It's amazing the number of them that they do, that again is a sign of activity. Lots of repair work, sidewalk work. We're upgrading the radios of the vehicles to a low band, as well as the normal maintenance of this particular building. Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Paul LeBoy,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 301, Highway Superintendent's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Fred Levine, Superintendent of Highways for the month of August 2010.
A motion,
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Might be noteworthy to repeat one of his comments about the work on Ruger Street, that they're planning on doing paving on Ruger Street. They have to wait until it can be striped. It has to be striped right away, obvious reasons, safety and so on. And the county does that for us, and they are waiting for their supply of the paint that they use for striping. So as soon as that comes in, they will be going over there, and that will just about wrap up their paving for this year. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Gerard Renderdeck.
Yes.
Mark Manning.
Yes.
Paul Lemoyne,
Yes.
Ernie Bassett.
Yes. That's the end of our regular resolutions. I'm going to make a motion for an executive session in just a moment, but I haven't had a chance to give you an update, which I'd like to do right now on our moratorium committee. This is a result of the local law number 2 for 2010. Part of what we wanted to achieve was to create a committee to take a look at the local law, to make recommendations. This is a 9-month moratorium. That local law may become a standing law for the town. We may want to amend it. One of the advantages of this is an opportunity to take some time, analyze the needs, the situation. There may be something in the document that has been missed and gives us a chance to go back and do that. Or maybe, the recommendation will be we don't even need such a law. I'm very pleased, and through our discussions, we looked at making this committee represent a cross-section of the community of interested groups and agencies, getting a degree of expertise. And Bob Smith has agreed to represent the business community in this endeavor. Dr. Robert Fuller from the Center for Earth and Environmental Sciences at Plattsburgh State will certainly bring a great deal of expertise, as well as the vested interest of Plattsburgh State. Sarah Rowden, county legislator, has agreed to participate. We certainly want to keep the county involved in the conversation. Representing the EJ district, Sandy Latterell has agreed to participate in this ad hoc committee. I've asked Dory Kurtz on behalf of the IDA, the Development Corporation, her knowledge and expertise in